Morning, beeps. Good morning, everyone. How's everyone doing? Hopefully, you guys are all doing well. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. If you guys are new to the channel, don't forget as well to like and share the vids. No vid yesterday. Apologies. It was a busy day. I was at the AJ Franklin press conference. We'll talk about that press conference in a couple of minutes. I feel like I need to do more behind the scenes stuff. You guys enjoyed the content I put up when I was at fight camp, and I haven't done anything behind the scenes since then. It's difficult for me, obviously, because I work on these events, to also be running around with a camera. It looks a bit unprofessional. So I am thinking of getting someone to do it, like employing someone to do all this kind of behind the scenes content and just chuck it up. I think it will look fun, and it will show you guys a lot of what you don't see. Because I think yesterday it was only media members, so a lot of you guys wouldn't have seen exactly how these press conferences work. They are quite interesting. A lot goes on behind the scenes. So I might put something together, obviously paid, where someone just comes to all the events with me. I'm guessing I'm going to have to ask DAZN and Matchroom, Talk Sport, but someone comes and just follows me around, and then we can chuck it up on the YouTube, chuck it on Instagram, and I think you guys will enjoy it. So yeah, let me put something together, and then I guess you guys can email me if you're interested in the role. You ain't going to make millions, I can't lie to you, but it'll be fun. I think it'll be fun, and it'll give you an insight. And if you are one of those videographers that want to get into this industry, it could be a good stepping stone into it. All right, let's talk about the AJ press conference yesterday. I'll start with Jermaine Franklin. He's the first person I interviewed. So I interviewed Jermaine Franklin, AJ, Craig Richards, Eddie Hearn, and Joe Markowski. And Jermaine Franklin was in good spirits, man. Honestly, very, very good energy. Quite shy. I feel like he's quite shy doing this stuff. And that's because he's not done it at this level ever, really. I mean, obviously there was a little bit with Dillian Whyte, but this is a whole nother level. I mean, he had to literally do interview after interview after interview. I think he done like 20 interviews. So all the YouTube channels, obviously, but then Sky Sports, BBC, ITV, obviously DAZN. So hard work. It's not easy to be asked the same questions time and time again. I know it's part of the sport, but these fighters just want to fight. You know, a lot of them aren't media trained or anything like that, so they do find this kind of stuff boring. But he was in good spirits, man. He's very, very confident. He looked a bit leaner. Remember, I interviewed him prior to the Dillian Whyte fight where I thought he looked a bit overweight. He looked a bit leaner this time. He did say that he's not going to the Fury camp. He's going to go back to America and do some training. Last time round, he actually went to Fury's camp and got ready for Dillian Whyte. This time he's going back home. I'm not quite sure who he's going to be training with, but he's confident. He's confident. He almost feels like there's a bit of piss take by people referring to him as a stepping stone or an easy bit of work. So he's coming to upset the apple cart. I think I mentioned this the other day. He's coming to basically try and win the lottery. Because you beat AJ, a bit like Andy Ruiz. I mean, the next fight, Andy Ruiz got paid. And even if it isn't AJ next time round, whoever Franklin fights next time round is going to be big money. So yeah, he's confident. His team is confident as well. And they're looking forward to April the 1st. As for AJ, I think AJ looked in really good spirits. I mean, obviously I've covered a lot of AJ's recent fights, and I've interviewed him as well. And sometimes you can sense the nervous energy, you can sense the pressure. Didn't sense any of that. Honestly, didn't sense any of that. I don't know if it was almost a relief that there are no belts, which sounds strange, but I do remember sort of UFC middleweight champion Anderson Silva, when he was a long reigning middleweight champion, and when he lost his belts, I think the next interview, he said, no, he feels relieved, like there was a lot of pressure defending those belts. And I almost feel like AJ maybe had that as well. He doesn't have that now. He looked confident. I'll tell you this, AJ, since the time I've been covering him for DAZN and a bit for Sky Sports, he never, ever stays around and does every interview. I've never seen it happen. Like, he would do the main broadcast, maybe IFL will get one, and then it's almost a bit of a round table, and if you can grab him, you can get him. This time, he actually waited and done all the interviews. I left there, so I got there about 12. I left there at 6. AJ was still doing interviews at 6 o'clock. So that surprised me. Again, normally he's out the back door and you don't even see him. His team are like, no, he's got to go. But for some reason he decided to stay and do all the interviews, which I think's a good sign that he feels relaxed. He feels relaxed. He flew in yesterday from Texas. Obviously, Derek James was there with him. We're going to get to that in a minute. I'm actually doing a training session today for the Zone with AJ, his strength and conditioning coach, and Derek James on the pads. I was like, on the pads? I haven't hit pads since I was 15. Like, what are we doing? I'm 41. I can't hit pads, but I'll give it a go. So that's going to be fun. But yeah, back to AJ. He seems confident. And so he should be. He's fighting Jermaine Franklin. I'm sorry, he should be confident. He's fighting Jermaine Franklin. I don't care if he's lost his last 2 or 3 of his last 5. He's fighting Jermaine Franklin. You should be confident going into that. This is not Usyk. This isn't Fury. This isn't Joyce. This isn't Wilder. Let's have it right. This is a guy that we were surprised you're fighting. So I think he should be confident going into this one. He said something yesterday, and for some reason it started to stir people up. And I almost feel like whatever AJ says, people get pissed off of. It's either like he's a robot or he's media trained or he's trying to be a bad boy. But he said, I think Eddie asked him, sort of, what's the motivation now? And I think Eddie expected, I think a lot of us expected AJ to say, I want to become 3-time heavyweight world champion, right? Because that's kind of the way AJ has been recently. Like when he lost these belts to Ruiz, it was like, okay, I want to be a 2-time heavyweight champion. I want to get those belts back. This time it was like, money. That's what motivates me, money. I remember being poor. I remember the family being poor. Everyone's going to forget me when I'm gone, so just give me as much money as possible. I do not mind that at all. I do not mind it. Like, this is a prize fighting sport. I mean, the biggest prize is the money. Not everyone can be a world champion. Certain people can't even be British champions. All they want to do, and you hear it from fighters, all they want to do is secure their future and get as much money as humanly possible. All these fighters, when they're done, always talk about the belts as though, yeah. Don't get me wrong, some, like Oscar's got him up in his office and Floyd talks about him as well. But majority of fighters, they don't even know where their belts are. Honestly, it's just a case of how much money am I making? AJ, it's not like he's short of a few quid. The Wolves aren't at his door, but he just wants to make the money now. And he's always been like that. He's always been about his money, but now he's saying it. Now that kind of stay humble thing is done. Like, fuck that. We're not staying humble. We're done. And I do wonder if already Errol and Jermell Charlo is starting to rub off him a little bit. I do wonder. But look, he's in good spirits, man. He's in a good place. I asked him whether or not he was forced to go to Texas, like whether or not Derek James was like, yeah, I'll train you, but you've got to come to me. And he's like, no. He insisted. AJ insisted on going to America, and he's enjoying it out there as well. I mean, look, you're in a camp with Errol, Jermell, Frank Martin. Other kids will be in that camp as well. It's a good camp. What's the phrase? Iron sharpens iron, right? I mean, you don't get much more tougher iron than Jermell Charlo. And the good thing about Jermell, even as opposed to Errol, Jermell lost to Tony Harrison. Yeah, he had to go and get his belts back. Jermell, I think, lost to Brian Castano. It was a draw, but he lost, and the get back, he showed that he was a level above. So Jermell's probably the one really that I think AJ should almost hang on to a bit, just because he understands, maybe more so than Errol, the defeat. He understands the defeat and having to kind of claw back a little bit. So, yeah, look, I think Derek James is a good fit. I think him being in America is a good fit. I mean, look, all of this doesn't matter time, come fight night if AJ gets beat. But for now, I think it's he's in a good spot. And I'll stick with what I said as well about my prediction. AJ should run through Jermaine Franklin. This shouldn't go beyond 6 rounds. Even when I asked AJ about sort of like, AJ, you've been talking about 3 fights this year. He's like, yeah, easy. I was like, okay. You haven't done it since, 2014, 2015? Yeah, easy. 3 fights. That's what he wants. He almost said, like, before, there's always... Remember, by the way, AJ's only had 1 fight a year, really, for the last 3 years. But it was more like the fights he's had have been so big in terms of organising and mandatories and having to tell a governing body to wait, to not strip him of the belt, to kind of make sure everything works. Whereas this, there is no that. There are no belts on the line. These fights are easier to make now. Even if he were to fight Dillian White in the summer, again, no belts on the line, easier to make now. Saves a couple of quid on sanctioning fees as well. But look, we'll see, man. We'll see how it plays out. But he's in good spirits. Again, as I say, I see him in 3 or 4 hours. If I don't make a video tomorrow, it means I died in that training session. I like to think I'm fit, but there's fit going to the gym and lifting weights and, doing a bit of bike work. And then there's, I think, fit to the point where I've said this before. I think AJ is the best athlete boxing. Could be wrong. It's not like I've been around all of them, but just his physique is ridiculous. So if I die, I die. Let's see. All right, let's see if there's anything else to have a quick chinwag about before we start the day. Tony Harrison on Zoo. Tough fighter, but so basic to me. Just somebody I see around the block. But going into his backyard adds to it. I mean, Tim Zoo's a good fighter, man. And he is tough. Harrison's right. I do favour Harrison in this one. I think Harrison's a good fighter. A very good fighter. But look, we'll see. We'll see how it plays out. But it's a good fight in the 154-pound division. Probably the most stacked division in boxing. Mexican monster David Benavidez says he wants to be country's next great fighter. Let's see, man. Caleb Plant, that's the one. March 25th. I mean, that fight's getting some heat now. I'm liking what they're doing. They are, I think, giving it some good promo. It's almost as though David Benavidez is willing to take on the mean sort of heel role in this, whereas Caleb Plant's just almost sitting back and just ready and waiting. It's a good fight. It's a good style matchup as well. I do expect Benavidez to get to him late, but I mean, we've seen that Caleb Plant is a good boxer. I don't know where he is, but he's a good boxer, technically very, very good as well. So we'll see what happens. Emmanuel Navarrete vacates his WBO 126-pound title. That belt is now at stake for Ramirez-Dogbo clash. Okay. This is interesting. I think I spoke about this. I spoke to Craig Richards about this, I think, yesterday. Vosdik is back, returns February 11th on a Marv Nation card. So that's this weekend. Wants to fight the top guys in the 175-pound division. Look, we'll see. I thought, and I've obviously got this wrong then, I thought there was some health issues, and that's the reason he retired after the Beterbiev fight. That's what I thought. By the way, he was doing so well in that fight. Go and watch it back. And that's when I remember seeing him spar Canelo, and I was actually surprised, like, well, isn't there a medical problem here? Obviously not. Maybe there were other reasons as to why he retired. Look, we'll see what's left. Sometimes it's good for a fighter to have a rest, have a break. It's been a long one for Vosdik. It's been a couple of years, but we'll see. He will see. I think even he's done a few interviews recently saying, look, I will find out February 11th. I can do all the sparring. I can do all the road work. I can do all the pad work. I won't know until I get in there and have a real fight February 11th, and then I'll know what's left. If there is something left, then he's a name for... If I'm... Obviously, look, Beterbiev and Bivol are there, right? They're there. But if I am all the other guys, if I am Marcus Brown, if I'm Joe Smith, if I'm Yard, if I'm Boatsi, if I'm Callum Smith, if I'm Dan Aziz, I'm like, okay, he's here now. That's a big name. I should be looking at those fights. So, yeah, man, we'll see. We'll see what Vosdik can do. Really good fighter. In that interview, it's weird. He did say Eli Sekbak's got contacts, He said that he got a call from Eli Sekbak, and on the call was Canelo. And Canelo is the one that spoke to him and said, come down and do some sparring. And it was like, well, Canelo, I haven't sparred for ages. I'm kind of retired. And Canelo said, don't worry, come. And he said, that's the reason he's back, because he saw something in that spar with Canelo. Man, I didn't know Eli's got it like that. Michaela Meyer mocks Hearn. He can't afford the Baumgardner rematch. This was an interesting one. Baumgardner, clearly, for me, a fantastic fighter. Clearly someone that I think in the last 18 months, you think of sort of stars, not just female boxing stars, but just stars of boxing. Her stock has risen a lot. I still don't know if that equates to bums on seats, if that equates to sign-ups. I don't know. Does that even equate to being the headline act? I'm not quite sure. And the money that Baumgardner would want, because she's now undisputed, and Maya would want because of, I guess, the money that they got from Sky Sports, which would have been pretty good. I don't know if there's any value in it. I don't know. I'm not quite sure. For me, it's a big fight. I think you can sell it well. I mean, look at all that happened in the first fight. I mean, as much as it was about Savannah Clarissa, ultimately, I feel like Baumgardner and Maya took over the promo. I think it was really good. So it'll be interesting to kind of hear what numbers are being banded about for this one. I mean, I'm guessing it's six figures, but how high six figures? I don't think it'll be seven figures. I don't think it's that, but it'd be interesting. I'm as much as Maya's saying this. I mean, I'm surprised that Bob and Top Rank haven't made a big offer. I mean, yes, Eddie's one part of it, but you're also one part of it as well. You can make an offer, so I don't know. I saw this on the way to the presser yesterday. Craig Richards versus Bolotniks has been done. Signani versus Felix Cash. I thought that would have been Amma Williams, but they're talking about Amma Williams in the summer. Maybe Cash felt like after his last performance, it wasn't a great performance. Remember that he needs one more. That seems to be the obvious one. Richards versus Bolotniks, a really good fight in the light heavyweight division. Again, it's a division that's really, really growing. Not even growing, it's a division that's just grown. And Richards needs this win, needs this one. You can't lose back to back. Bolotniks is a good gauge as to where Richards is, because Bolotniks for me has almost become the gatekeeper now for world level. It'll give you rounds, tough rounds. I was in his after he fought Boatsi. This is Bolotniks. He had a fight in Spain. I was there for that, and he fought an unbeaten Russian. He beat him tough, gritted it out. So he's a good fighter, good fighter. I saw someone today, I don't remember the guy's name, but someone told me today saw it today, that Ryan Garcia tank is done. It's happening April 15th. No one should worry. I think Espinoza liked the tweet or retweeted it or something. So, yeah, I think it is going to happen. I always say that the information we get is about 2 or 3 weeks old. So as much as we're getting stuff about the rematch clause, we're getting it now, but that's already probably been sorted in the past. So I think we're okay. Anything else before we move on? Eric Morales says Munguia would knock Gennady Golovkin out. Gennady Golovkin's never been knocked out, and Munguia has never fought anyone as good as Gennady Golovkin. So let's end that conversation straight away. Not saying it wouldn't happen, but don't just say he would. Like, he's capable. It might happen, but let's put some respect on GGG's name, please. Talking about Golovkin, there's a couple of fights mentioned for him here. There was this mandatory, I don't know, it might have been the IBF mandatory, maybe that's why he's vacated, but there is talk about Golovkin versus Erislandi Lara again. That was ordered ages ago. The WBF reordered that middleweight title fight. I have no interest in seeing, I think Lara's, how old's Lara? I'm going to say Lara's 41. Lara is 39, 40 in April, and Golovkin's 41, right? How old's Golovkin? Golovkin is 41 in April. So by the time this fight rolls round, a 41-year-old versus a 40-year-old, I pass on that. I love it all, but I pass on it. We're going to end on this one. Rolly Romero. If you guys have probably seen the sparring footage that's gone around of Rolly getting tagged, getting dropped, and the opposing cornerman for the guy that dropped him running into the ring and celebrating. I'm like, is this what goes on? This is wild. It needs to be stopped. Like, you've got to be so careful as to who you let in, regardless if there's needle between the two. You've got to be so careful as to who you let in your sparring sessions. Sparring is there for you to learn off each other, get some rounds, good rounds, but you're learning off each other. That's what it is. It's the iron sharpens iron thing. I don't mind sparring being hard because it needs to be hard, right? You are trying to replicate what could happen in the ring, but the idea of putting that clip up and celebrating, and your trainer jumping in the ring and celebrating, it's stupid. Now, look, I know Rolly Romero chats a lot of shit. I get it. We all know he does. But there's no reason to put that clip up and celebrate someone getting knocked down in sparring. I mean, who hasn't been down in sparring? I'd like to know who hasn't. Floyd's probably been down in sparring. Probably has, right? So the idea of, we got to clip this up and put it up because that's some sort of win. The guy that knocked Rolly Romero down is a 3-0 guy. Like, do something first. Don't be proud of that. Don't do that. That's just stupid. And look, it's not his fault. I don't know if he's responsible for the clip going up, but the whole team is responsible. And I think it's I hate people putting up sparring footage. I hate it. Don't get me wrong. I don't mind sparring footage where no one gets the better of someone. It's just good stuff. Like I think we've seen the Shakur, Devin Haney sparring footage going around. That's good, competitive sparring. No one's putting up to kind of show, look, I done this and I done that. It's just a good spar between two good prospects. When someone puts up a spar as if to say, look, I beat you up in sparring, stupid. Honestly, very, very stupid. Anyway, guys, girls, we are done. We're out of here.